Far Cry 6 is easily the worst Far Cry game in the whole series, and this is for a number of reasons. One being that the side villains are actually worse than the story.
Come on, backpack, go join the fiesta back in the...
As well as boring gameplay with lack of any good mechanics.
This is it!
fucking truck!
And of course, a poorly executed main villain that might spit in the face of every other Far Cry main villain. Or maybe it didn't. Maybe we just missed the point. Is Anton Castillo a villain we missed the point of, or is he really that bad of a villain? Well, join me on today's video and we'll find out. If you guys like this kind of content, I would really appreciate a like and subscribe. I need to hit 1,000 subscribers because I need to pay off my mortgage. Okay, I'm just kidding. However, like and subscribe would be massively appreciated. If you do like this content going forward, please do leave me a comment what you think of the video and what you think of Anton Castillo. Thank you guys, I appreciate you all so much, and please do leave a comment because I will be replying. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all at the end of the video. To give some backstory to Anton Castillo, he grew up in Yaren, under the iron fist of his father, who was also a ruthless dictator. I know, sounds like someone we know from Far Cry 6 already. Anton grew up in a hard and brutal country, and when his father died, it would be his turn to take over the family business, of being a ruthless dictator, of course. Anton would put the economic needs of Yaren first before anything else, often leaving his people completely oppressed and deprived of any basic human needs, often having them work in labour camps where they would be forced to manufacture a drug called Viviro, which Anton claimed cured cancer. These camps were brutal, of course, and many people died in them. Anton's main goal was to turn Yara into a paradise land, a land of peace and prosperity, and he thought the best way of doing this was manufacturing a drug which would exponentially increase his economic growth. Once, of course, he had exported it across the whole of the world, he could have that paradise land, but he'd have to export it first. Now, in my opinion, this is actually quite a good plot for a Far Cry game. Anton clearly has a point to make, and that point is that the world is corrupt as heck. The point being that every country will turn a blind eye to any human rights violations if it means that it increases their bank numbers and increases their economy. It's a concept that's all but too familiar for people from the West because of the Iraq War and other major events like that, but it's for that exact reason that this is actually a really good story to tell with a really powerful message if it's told right. The message should have been painting a picture of how corrupt the world is. Sure, Anton has the cure for cancer, but his country couldn't be more corrupter and poorer off. But yet Western countries and even Eastern and Northern countries will scramble to get this cure, looking past the pure discrimination and human rights violations. And while I think this message is one that is extremely important and extremely clever, I sadly don't think Far Cry 6 tackles this overall message very well at all. Anton Castillo is in Far Cry 6 quite a bit, but yet this message hardly seems to be tackled at all. Now, this message is in the game, but you have to look very hard. But for example, one of my favourite scenes in the game with Anton is when he's being interviewed by a US news reporter, and she's accusing him of violating human rights and saying that it's immoral to take this cure because of the human rights violations he's causing, the people he's killing by making this cure. And Anton actually replies with something along the lines of, "And you think your country isn't so evil?"
Oh. A cancer treatment that extends the lives of millions around the world, except in the United States. My own father is stage 4. Why do you make Americans wait?
It's very American to expect what does not belong to you.
You refuse diplomatic overtures, even promises to lift the blockade.
I am sorry about your father, but Americans will wait, just like everyone else.
Yesterday, your network, Yaravision, was hijacked by rebels. They called for the liberation of so-called outcasts from Viviro labor camps. Is Viviro produced with slave labor?
Truth or lies?
The truth, of course.
Yara did not write the playbook. Slavery was your first corporation, 1800 to 1860. Cotton was your #1 export. Grown by whom?
Just a second.
Slaves. 4 million Americans, worth $3.5 billion. The #1 asset in your economy was people who look like me. What is that called?
A history lesson?
a head start.
And it's just so cool. This scene is so good, and this message is delivered well in this scene. In fact, like I say, it is probably my favourite scene with Castillo. But while this message is in the game, sadly it is very few and far between, and that really is a shame, because this message is one of importance and one that could have been told extremely well. Now, you could argue that Far Cry 6 doesn't have an overall message, and this isn't what they were going for, but they were going for a deeper meaning, like a deeper meaning within a character or an event, like Far Cry 4's Pagan Min, who at the end or start of those games is revealed to be someone who is far deeper, who does what he does because of far deeper reasons, and who he is because of far deeper reasons. And a lot of people tried to say that yes, through the use of Anton's son, Diego, there is a deeper meaning to Far Cry 6, and people try to argue that that deeper meaning is that no matter how evil, no matter how malicious someone is, you can never truly corrupt a child. Or even that the new generation will always stand up for what's right and what's #wokeAF. And for a while, I think they tackle the message of Diego being a pure child quite well, with Diego starting off resenting and hating his father, to the middle of the game nearly joining and becoming as corrupted as him, to the end of the game understanding him but resenting him. Only problem with all this is that Diego is not fleshed out enough, and I mean he's very undercooked. Most of the time he just shows up at random points in the story, and it's then a 25% dice roll whether his character will be as malicious and horrible as Anton, be the complete opposite and be your guardian angel, or sit there like a prick and say nothing. But I mean, yes, technically Diego does have a successful character arc, and besides, this deeper meaning with Diego is nowhere near the same as the deeper meaning with Pagan Min, which is way more fleshed out and just overall more compelling and interesting. They also try to do this really strange plot twist where they show that Anton actually has cancer, but it's really odd, because I suppose what they're trying to say with this is that the Viviro doesn't cure cancer but makes you worse or makes you more sick. But like, anyone with half a brain would know this. I mean, throughout Far Cry 6, all they do is talk to you about how bad Viviro is for people and how it makes people sick. It's not a surprise it doesn't cure cancer. And as for Anton having cancer, it just comes out of fucking nowhere. Like, one minute he's completely fine, the next minute he's dying. And don't even try to tell me that he was hiding it, because after it's revealed that he has cancer, he does nothing to try and hide it. It's just a plot point now. I mean, I say a plot point, but it adds absolutely nothing to the plot. I mean, you could say that him having cancer, you know, adds to the story of Far Cry 6, because now we really know that Anton truly believes he's doing the right thing, but was that ever a surprise? The guy grew up under his father's fucking dictatorship. Of course he thinks he's doing the right thing. That's just his screwed up worldview. Now let's compare Anton Castillo to the other Far Cry villains from the other games and see how he holds up. Anton compared to Vaas from Far Cry 3 isn't really a comparison at all, to be honest. Vaas has more of an interesting part in the story, has more of a deeper meaning behind of his character, and overall is way funnier and fun to interact with. His character can often feel very explosive and very empowering, whereas Anton's can often feel, how do I put this? Boring. So I'd have to say Vaas is a better villain here, but what about Pagan Min? Anton compared to Pagan Min once again isn't much of a comparison, with Pagan Min being far more funner to interact with, way more important to Far Cry 4's story, and overall being way more deeper and way more interesting than Anton, as well as overall just having more fun and impactful moments with the player. You see, Anton can have quite a strong position in the story and be quite a strong character when the vibe is right, but often Anton is way too over the top to the point it feels like a joke, or so underwhelming he might as well not be in scenes.
You are Libertad.
I'm just a guerrilla.
No lies at my table!
You're a legend. They tell stories about you.
Come on.
You are their hope. And now, you will become my hope.
You're kidding, right?
You still don't get it. I told you to leave. This is your fault.
You want her to live. You will accept the rank of general of my army. You will be my hope, my legend, my Danny Rojas! True. Yaras.
And overall, this makes Anton's character far, far weaker than he should be. I mean, Far Cry villains, even when they're at their worst, they should still be consistent with how they act and how they make the player feel. For example, Vars is always intimidating.
I'm sorry, what did you say? What did you say? Do you want me to slice you open like I did your friend? Shut the fuck up!
Pagan Min is always interesting and funny.
To ensure your reputation. Please, yes, Kingman. Your wish is my command. I'm so glad we could agree on this. Well, I won't take up any more of your time. This should only take a moment. And they say I've lost touch with my subjects.
And the father is always scary and creepy.
Most of all, it means I was right. The collapse has come. The world as we know it is over.
Even when these characters are at their worst, they're all consistent. Even the father, a character that I personally said wasn't that great, is way, way more consistent than Anton Castillo and way, way more of a fun and interesting watch than Anton. I think what makes Anton Castillo a hard villain to like and get on with and understand is that he's not consistent, but the game kind of thinks he is. It's clear they were going for a very brutal, very strict and very stern man, but we don't get that. A lot of the time we get a very quiet man, and other times we get a very emotional and impulsive man, and it just doesn't keep a consistent tone in the story. Now, all of that isn't to say that Anton doesn't have interesting and cool moments you watch, because he does, and when he's at his best, he really is at his best, and is a fun character to watch.
He was weak.
Me papa had a saying. God gives victory to the lions.
Sounds religious.
Mi papa loved Jesus. He would always say, Jesus would make an amazing Yaran Presidente. Mi Anton, always remember, Jesus was both the lion and the lamb.
He's just, for some reason, nowhere near as much as a fun watch as the other Far Cry villains, and I think there's a key reason behind this involving Far Cry 6's camera work. And I mainly think this because I do think that Anton Castillo can be interesting because he has everything that a Far Cry villain needs to be interesting. I mean, for example, he's got the power to make you feel scared and intimidating of what he can do and what his capabilities are. He's got that motivating factor behind you, the player, to take him down, and overall I think he can be quite a fun watch. So why is he not interesting to watch? And I think the reason behind why he isn't a fun watch and why he isn't very interesting is all to do with the camera work and where the camera is located in Far Cry 6's cutscenes. You see, in every other Far Cry game, the camera is set to first person always, and that includes cutscenes. In cutscenes, you're put into this first-person camera angle, which can often make you feel very uncomfortable and intimidated by the villain. This doesn't even matter if the villain's not actually with the character, you will still be locked into this weird, very close-up first-person camera angle, and it helps to build what feels like a personal relationship with the villain. But Far Cry 6's camera doesn't do this. For some reason, the series decided to take you out of this first-person cool perspective and just have the cutscenes all play normally, like it's a normal game. And it really makes it harder to understand and bond or have any sort of feelings for Anton Castillo personally, because otherwise he just seems like another bad guy you need to take down, and it really affects his character in a negative way, and overall just makes the player not care about him very much. In my opinion, there is one reason above all else that Anton Castillo's character is not a good one, or at least one that the player can't resonate with or understand at all. And this reason is how they end Anton's character / his final confrontation with the player. The final mission of Far Cry 6 has you storm Anton Castillo's tower. You enter the capital city of Yara and you have to take down the remaining army members Anton has and then kill Anton Castillo. When you enter the top of his tower, he is there, on his own with nothing but a single gun and his son. He tells his son that everything he did to him, everything he put him through was to make him a stronger and better son, a stronger and better leader. And granted, I actually kind of like this bit, because it shows that Anton was hard on his son for a reason, because his son is truly all he has left. He's the last of Anton's bloodline.
Everything that I did to make you stronger.
You are not going to kill him. He's gonna die anyway.
Last lesson, Mio. There is one thing in life that will always be true. Do you know what that is?
Death.
He tells you, the player, that he had to watch his father die to a Yaran soldier. That Yaran soldier this time will be you. And now Diego, Anton's son, will have to watch his dad die to, like I say, you, a Yaran soldier, which would turn him into the perfect leader in Anton's eyes. So you kill Anton, and the screen cuts to black. Is what I fucking wish happened, because instead there's some BS bullshit where Anton pulls out a gun, shoots his son in the face, and then kills himself. What the fuck?
You will protect him from your friends, from the monsters.
He'll be safe. I promise.
Lies.
Diego! No!
I have been over this scenario in my head again and again and again, and I still don't know what the fuck the point of killing Diego was. I mean, I get he was never gonna carry on the military regime, but what was the point? I mean, you could say it was because he's ashamed of his son, but that makes that whole speech completely fucking irrelevant. I suppose you could also argue that it was to stop him joining the people of Yaren, but this is a terrible reason for murdering your own son. And then, in one foul swoop, Ubisoft delivers the most beautiful middle finger I have ever received by making Anton kill himself. So you don't even get the privilege of killing this awful villain that you've been waiting to kill for plus 30 hours of this shitty game. Well, probably like 19 hours, but still, man, it's ridiculous. I suppose you could argue that the real confrontation was in the last mission where you had dinner with Anton and were held hostage by him, in which all Anton seems to do in this mission is bitch and moan about how he didn't want his son Diego. So this makes even further no sense to why he'd then do this big loving speech to then kill him. I don't understand where they were going with this. I suppose you could say that him saying lies before he kills his son is him confirming that he lied about loving him, but I always thought him saying lies was to Danny, how Diego will never be taken care of because he's gonna kill him. So I don't understand. Furthermore, this is the worst confrontation in any Far Cry game and is laughably bad when you compare it to literally any Far Cry game's ending. In conclusion, the reason why I think Anton Castillo is such a bad villain is because the game has every opportunity to make him a good villain and fails on all of them. You can't relate to him, you can't like him, and overall he's very, very boring. All this is then backed up by the fact we have these very foreign and terrible camera angles that just don't belong in a Far Cry game. Anton lacks any deeper meaning or greater message, and overall is just not a very good or compelling character nor villain. Add on the fact that we have probably the worst ending to any Far Cry game with a terrible final confrontation, and you can see why Anton Castillo is a very unliked and very terrible character and villain. It really is a shame because they had one of the best villain actors to work with within the last 20 years, but they threw it out the window. Really a shame. Thank you guys ever so much for watching this video. If you liked the video, please do make sure to like and subscribe. I have now hit 700 subscribers, and I thank you all so much for that. It is a huge milestone, and I can't wait to continue this YouTube journey. Feel free to comment down below what you think of Anton Castillo, and 97% of you aren't subscribed, so please do subscribe. Thank you guys ever so much for watching, and and I will see you all in the next video. Stay safe, guys, and peace.